Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Sonia.
And welcome to a very, very special episode of Our Life, the Show, as we celebrate 1 whole year on YouTube. So yes, this week we are going to go ahead and celebrate our 1 year anniversary here on YouTube by talking about a bit about our channel, by way of looking back at some of our moments, I guess, from this past year.
It's been a hell of a year.
Basically reacting to previous videos, but not in the sense that you guys are used to, because I know reaction videos usually has one big idiot reacting to a small screen of a smaller idiot. But in this case, it's just two idiots responding to videos that will put up in post that we've already watched. Regardless, we hope you enjoy this video, and we thank you guys for joining us for this 1 year anniversary. And if for whatever reason you are new here, please comment, subscribe, and all that good stuff. Help spread the love. Keep this channel alive. Keep this train rolling, I guess you could say, for another year. But without further ado, I think what we are going to look back on first is, naturally, our first episode that we upload to YouTube. Our first Our Life in Podcast episode, when we were still doing everything
Podcasty.
in an audio-only format. Hello, listeners, and welcome to the first episode of what I'm hoping will become a weekly podcast called Our Life in Podcast. My name is Matthew.
My name's Sonia.
Speaking of audio, it was just audio, but it sounded like we were talking underwater the whole time.
You could barely hear me, and we sounded like robots. That's what I said.
It was an idea that I had wanted to do because I like the idea of doing podcasts. And I had a microphone that I had bought for the express purpose of doing a podcast, but I couldn't feel comfortable doing it myself because I don't think I could carry a show by myself. So I wanted Sonia to join me. Unfortunately, the microphone could not pick up both of us accurately, and it led to, well, the quality of the first show, which I also hated, at least in the beginning, how I sounded a little unsure of myself in it. I guess it comes with the fact that, we were just starting out something new, but it seemed like we picked up as we went along.
Yeah. Well, what I said is that the pauses, some of them were long, and it was a little awkward, but it's not, there was a lot of pauses, not necessarily long. It was relatable, sure. It was a good, relatable story. And it might have been awkward, but it was, our first one with, shit equipment and stuff. I thought it was an okay
and
one.
To reiterate what it was I was doing, and I apologize, I doubt that's going to pick up on camera. There is a bug flying around. But what I was talking about in that episode was, I guess, trying to come across a cool kid in school when I clearly was way out of my element for something like that. And the idea of it is something I might want to revisit because there's another elephant in the room that we call Snorkel in that episode. Long story short, it's a girl that I had a lot of interest in at the time, and I do think I should revisit this story and maybe tell a little bit more about that as well. But I want to bring up one particular moment, which we will air here. Hopefully you guys can understand what I'm saying. I was actually doing a science project with Snorkel and a few other people. Had something to do, I cannot remember today really what it was. It had something to do with a petri dish and microscope.
Now, did you get to pick?
So, yeah, as I'm talking about, there's this moment where I just kind of glaze over this petri dish project I was doing.
Petri dish?
Yeah, I don't know if you maybe missed that yourself. But it was the moment that the teacher, Mr. Jefferson, kind of got on my case for because I did something wrong. But I didn't really remember what the experiment was until after we did this thing where we swabbed our cheek, kind of like, the 23andMe type deal.
Yeah.
But we took this cotton swab and then we put it inside or dabbed it inside a petri dish on this little piece of paper. And then we stamped it closed and we looked at all our gross ass mouths underneath that microscope.
I think I did that before, but it was when I was a lot younger, not high school.
Yeah, I was in 9th grade biology class.
I was going to say Maury for DNA test.
So, yeah, unfortunately, there's really not much to talk about this. I do think that the story was interesting. It's just the execution was poor because we didn't know any better then.
And we didn't really have equipment.
We didn't have the right equipment.
It was testing the waters. Just testing the waters.
We've definitely grown, I think, as far as quality, which is something I always harped on for, like, this whole last year, is I always feel like our stuff isn't good quality-wise, either video or recording in general. I know that a lot of it is just me being hard on myself, but I think our first episode on camera, after seeing that, I think I can understand why. Show the clip. Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Sonia.
And welcome to our Life and Podcast, and holy you can see us.
It's a new format.
So I hope we don't scare any of you away by showing our lovely mugs. So in our first episode on camera, before we were technically officially Our Life the Show, we talked about our trip to Japan, and just like the last, our first episode, I do kind of want to revisit this a little bit. But, yeah, first of all is camera presence. I mean, I thought I looked terrible in that first episode.
No, it was just...
really hot.
It was like the peak of summer when we did it, and it was really hot.
Speaking of, lordy. It's on here today, too. If I'm being quite honest.
The only thing I said about the camera is that I think we were using your laptop camera at the time, so it was kind of blurry, not the greatest, but...
We could benefit from recording even now in a place that has good ventilation, I guess, or good air conditioning, but yeah. I'm afraid of that picking up on camera. Now, something we never talked about, it just kind of happened, I guess, as a part of the transition, is why we went from the audio only to the video format. We kind of mentioned it in passing, I believe. We were trying to do the podcast idea, but the podcast platform we were using, and I guess I could have researched it more, but what we were trying to use was going to charge us to actually use it monthly. And I didn't want to pay a subscription fee, so I moved our audio-only stuff to YouTube. But when I moved it to YouTube, one of my friends noticed that we had that watermark, which you probably saw in the clip from the first episode. And he, I guess, gifted us some video editing software. And I thought, well, why use the video editing software for just audio videos? Why not make an actual video, you know? And that's why we started to do it this way, but obviously we were a little ill-prepared, didn't exactly have the best equipment for it yet, but at least our audio was a lot better in that episode.
I also think, too, like, the podcasts, like, everyone does a podcast now, and it was just hard to compete, so we were just like, let's just do the whole YouTube thing, let's do it.
Well, I mean, it's hard to compete on YouTube anyway, because there's so much stuff on YouTube, so much different entertainment. And I still kind of want to do a podcast. I just don't know when or where or how.
Well, that's why we enjoyed doing the podcast and stuff like that. We were just like, since it was kind of, we were like, let's just go full throttle into everything. So that's why we did the video. The only notes I said is, it was may have been a little disorganized, but we wanted to, my opinion is I want to tell, like, our whole story because it was pretty interesting without, like, being too braggy about it.
Well, that's what I think. I mean, it wasn't too braggy, I don't think, but I think that the story itself could have been streamlined better, maybe told a little better, cleaner, and especially because I didn't know shit about editing. Like, there's so many pauses that I just couldn't. I didn't even know how to get rid of them back then. Like, I didn't know how to edit, like, awkward silence and shit.
That's what I said. I said editor could have been a little, editing could have been a little tidier.
Speaking of something that could have been a little better, and something I'm just going to pick on you for, show the clip. And a lot of people said online and whatever else how hard it was to... That's right, Sonia. Ever since the first episode we were on camera, you had a yawning problem. I would make a compilation of all the videos that Sonia's yawned in during, but
I don't sleep, and now that I'm back working, I still don't sleep, so I'm always tired. I'm sorry.
I don't blame you for being...
I'm also a mom!
I don't blame you for being tired, I just think it's funny.
I try so hard, but it's involuntary. It's not like I can stop it.
It makes me seem like, man, am I that boring when I talk?
Yeah, because that's why I yawn. No.
But I guess to wrap up the Japan episode there, I feel like there's still even more we could talk about that we didn't touch on. And if we were to revisit that episode, I think what I've learned as far as editing could really amplify that episode, because I can add in photos, videos, etc. from our trip that I wasn't able to before. So maybe we'll see, but maybe we'll look at that one later down the line too. Mm-hmm. Okay, so moving on, we are going to move away from Our Life the Show to some other show that's on our platform, something that's actually been fairly successful.
My first spooky finding!
Ooh. Hi people, it's me, Sonia, and as you know by now, I'm a huge Halloween buff, because Halloween is life, right? And this is going to be a new series, so welcome. I'm going to be calling it Spooky Findings.
The little backstory of this and, like, why I've started it, like, I've kind of mentioned it before, but at first I was just going to do, like, a Facebook video thing for my friends and family, but then it's just like, why not? Let's just do it on YouTube, and I'm glad I did, because I really enjoyed it. It's blossomed into its, like, own little, like, shopping series and stuff, and I'm really passionate about Halloween.
Clearly, because I think that even though this was Sonia's first episode of doing her own thing, I thought it came across really good, honestly, especially compared to everything we've done prior to that, which is probably a big reason why her show's been, I guess, more popular than this one on the channel. But she brought in a lot of energy. She showed a lot of passion. I honestly, for the most part, really liked it. Obviously, I'm going to nitpick a couple things here, which is the point of this podcast, I guess, or this episode. Podcast. We don't do a podcast anymore. And the first thing is that fucking opening image and sound that I did before. I'm sure that immediately several people probably were like, nope, after seeing and that dumb devil face.
The only thing, I held the camera wrong. It was basically iPhone mode. I don't have an iPhone, but iPhone mode where it's vertical. The sound in the beginning, I wasn't, because we didn't have this microphone at the time, but I wasn't loud enough, I guess, and the music was a little too much. It should have been lowered a little bit. That was the editor problem.
Sorry.
And like the recording sometimes would be upside down. Like sometimes my phone camera would not cooperate with me, blurry at times. But I fixed all that. But even with, the other thing is there's no music during the shopping, which
I put that down too. It was very awkwardly quiet the whole time.
Yeah, which I think the music helps, and you can kind of hear because I was trying to talk a little bit while I was recording. I don't do that anymore because I don't want people to just stare at me, because it's hard to record anyway. But the only thing, or the last thing I was going to say positive about it is that I thought it was a really good video. I'm really so proud of it, and it featured a lot of stores. That's what I want to do. Like I was
gonna say that, like, our first format, I don't know how successful that is though, because we did the mall episode. And by the way, any episode we talk about here and any episode we're watching will be linked below, but you guys could always just search around on our channel for it. I'm sure you can find them. But yeah, the mall episode had multiple stores in it, and it didn't really track as well, and neither did this first episode quite yet.
Well, I understand, because my mall one only had like 3 stores that I actually got to record, and this one had about 5, but only 3 of them recorded in. But it's Halloween. Like, Halloween has, all the stores have different things. I think that's more interesting, but that's me.
It is more interesting, I think, probably from a certain perspective, but obviously, if you're doing the YouTube thing, you're looking at the dumb algorithm, the messages, and all that shit. You kind of, it doesn't do as well, don't track as well as single store videos.
I don't know. It's probably because we're still small, because I've seen other people, they'll do like 3 stores, and they'll say Halloween shopping, and then in parentheses, the stores they went to, and it does fine.
You know what could remedy that? If people subscribe to this channel and make it larger. Thank you. But as far as extra notes I have in this case, I did point out the fact of you mentioning that ornaments were hangy things, which was
some hanging things.
I don't know. It got me at the time, hangy things.
Well, for some reason, sometimes when I do my voiceovers, like, I'll be thinking it, but I can't, like,
vocalize it.
And the word ornament was just gone out of my head. And when I said hanging things, like, I remember doing the recording, I was just like, ornaments. They are ornaments.
But I also like that you had, like, I think a lot, and again, it ties back into, I guess, the passion you have for the subject matter. I thought you did well with, I guess, conveying energy throughout the video itself, like in the filming and all that.
I try to have high energy and stuff like that, but sometimes it's just...
As we've mentioned, we don't have the largest time frame to record our videos during, so it doesn't... we are half the time exhausted when we record, so it does kind of hurt things a bit. But.
Yes, but I always try to bring 100, and if I'm, like, feeling down, I always let my folks know, and, like, let's chat.
It's especially awkward when we have to do things like taste tests, or not awkward, but hard, because it's like trying to eat these foods at a late hour of the night isn't exactly fun. But speaking of taste test, our first official Our Life the Show episode is where we're going to come into next. Hello, I'm Matt.
I'm Sonia.
And welcome to Our Life the Show, the Hollywood reboot of Our Life in Podcast. So yeah, this was a taste test. I guess you could say we were edging a little close to a certain mythical duo online with what that idea was. That was not necessarily my intention, but I wanted to do stuff that was more entertaining, and I think skit-based stuff gets a little cringy, so I was trying to do, I guess, more natural, more authentic stuff in the form of entertainment. But with that said, I absolutely love this episode.
I do too. I always laugh when I watch it.
I do think, obviously, my editing was not great yet, but the little bit of tricks I learned that worked well. So...
The editing wasn't bad. It was a little rough in the beginning, but that was it.
That transition in the beginning was terrible.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah. I didn't like it, but I think that it was a fun episode. I had a lot of fun recording it. That's the kind of stuff I want to do, and the stuff I want to convey when we do these is that we're having fun, that it's not scripted and not, forced.
I thought our chemistry was really good. I was very scared to be fed blindly. And I was just going to mention the clip here with a bunch of question marks because I had food in my mouth. I think I said, how big is this thing?
Of all the moments that stuck out to me in this first episode, and I, again, encourage you guys to really go watch this yourself, was the last item, your reaction to that. Are you ready?
No.
Here it is.
What is burning my tongue? What is that? What is that?
Got any guesses?
Hot ass?
Good old hot ass.
Hot ass, yeah. What flavor is it? Hot ass. That's a good one.
What I think was hilarious, too, though, was after the fact, I'm like, oh, I love this cheese, and I eat it with no problem. You were reacting aversely, and I'm trying to play it off like, I'm fine, I love eating this shit. Then I start hacking up along.
I called it the COVID cough. It wasn't. He was...
No, yeah, it was just the heat that I inhaled, so...
Yeah. Also, I mean, like, I wasn't faking any of these reactions, because when I eat something that I haven't eaten before, or blindly, like, these are real reactions. I'm not faking it.
Fun fact about this episode, too, that I feel just kind of should mention. That's actually our second filming of something like that, because our first one was me doing the taste test, and we didn't actually air that one. I'm just mentioning that because maybe down the line, as kind of like a bonus thing, especially if you have off weeks or whatever, I might upload it. Just don't expect the best quality, because I personally didn't care for that episode, but yeah, so over this last year, what would you say was your personal favorite episode that we did?
Personal favorite? I didn't write that down. I think the Salem one was one of my favorites because, like, it was the first time going, and I was, like, super pumped to, like, basically educate some of the people. Like, if you go, you should go to these places especially and stuff. I think all the taste tests are always fun also.
I think from a perspective of being the editor and testing what I have learned, as little bit as that is, both in making thumbnails and editing, I do think the Salem video is fun. And I think there was so much more that we could have talked about. I haven't even really talked about the trip itself or why I decided to take it, but I think it'd be fun to revisit the idea again down the line. Maybe go, if we possibly can, sometime back to Salem. No promises, but we'll see what we can do on that eventually. Just like everything I'm talking about tonight. No promises, but we'll see. I think if I had a personal favorite, even though I went through the most shit for it, it would definitely be the shit brindle. Because, one, it was just kind of a callback to my own past, trying to do different avenues of entertainment, I guess you could say. And it was something you couldn't fake. Like, my reaction, just how terrible that tasted, how bad it smelled, even after the fact when we had to clean out that bowl. It was memorable, I guess. I don't know if it would necessarily be our best episode. Definitely probably one of the harder ones to watch if you're squeamish. But I'm sure YouTube don't like that episode either. But a fun fact, if you guys do want to watch it, that's right on the front page. So I think this is a nice little retrospective into our year on YouTube. And I think it's also a good spot to possibly take a small, not too long of a break here from Our Life the Show. Sonia here still plans to upload her own show
try as much as I can.
We'll try to do it every week like usual. You know, stuff happens, sometimes it won't be there, but as far as Our Life the Show, I have plenty of great ideas, plenty of things I want to try out. I'm thinking I want to give that a little more time to record those, edit those, etc. So we are going to take a small break. I don't know how long, maybe a month, but we will be back, and when we are back, we will be back better than ever. So look forward to that. In the meantime, fun final time. Thank you guys for watching. Please, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We are trying to do our best to grow, to entertain people, and to provide something different on YouTube than what you usually would watch. And we do appreciate you guys sticking with us through this whole year. Anything else you'd like to add, Sonia, before we end this episode?
Just thank you for the people that continue to watch our videos and support us.
But we will see you guys in a couple weeks. Sonia a lot sooner. But thank you for watching.